Welcome back to the Quantum Mystic Podcast. I'm Jane Bear here with my host, Lisa Campion, and today we're talking about empaths. And for those listening, you're in good hands because one, I've spent my life as a highly empathic person and really created tools to navigate through my own life. And Lisa literally wrote the book on it. So today we're not talking about empaths from the perspective of fragility or overwhelm or constantly needing protection. Today we're talking about what it actually means to become an empowered empath. Because a lot of sensitive people have spent their entire lives managing themselves around other people's emotions, reading the room, carrying tension that doesn't belong to them, taking responsibility for keeping everyone comfortable. And eventually that becomes exhausting. And I know, take it from somebody who knows. Somewhere along the way, sensitivity got associated with weakness, like being empathic means you're supposed to absorb the pain of the world and call it compassion. But that's not wisdom, and it's not sustainable. Your sensitivity is not the problem. The lack of boundaries is the problem, and lack of discernment is the problem. And the habit of abandoning yourself to take care of everyone else is the problem. So today we want to talk about the shift from being emotionally porous to energetically sovereign. And what does it actually look like to feel deeply without drowning in what we feel? And how do we stop carrying emotions that were never ours to hold? And what's the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice? Because the goal is not to become less sensitive. The goal is to become more grounded inside our sensitivity. So let's get into it. How do you use sensitivity as a form of intelligence, clarity, leadership, purpose, instead of living in constant overwhelm? Lisa, I know you have lots to say. What do you?
I do have lots to say. And the first thing I want to say is, gosh, welcome if you guys are listening. Comments. We'd love to hear where you're from. We'd love to hear just to say hello. We'd love to hear if you think you're an empath or if you know one. Let us drop a line in the comments. And if you're not watching us live, then drop a comment in the podcast that you're listening to, because we'd really like to hear from you. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I love this idea of the empowered empath, and I love even that we're having this conversation, because back when I was, and I'm sure you too, Jane, just really struggling with this, sort of no language for it. There was no word, even the highly sensitive conversation just didn't really happen until the 90s. I remember being young and watching that Star Trek Next Generation, and they had, a character who was an empath on their staff. And that was like, I'm such a geek. I mean, I have to refer everything to Star Wars and Star Trek. That's just how I go. But, I was like, oh my God, that's a thing. That was sort of the first time that word hit me as a thing. And so I think a lot of us have grown up just being told we're too sensitive, being told, I grew up in the generation of like, if you're gonna cry, don't cry, or I'm gonna really give you something to cry about. Like, kind of like that, smackdown that we would get for, and a lot of blame and shaming around being sensitive, especially as a child. And so I just feel like there's been this like massive liberation around this conversation, where people are knowing what the word is, owning that that's what they are, finding a community of other people to talk about it. And I think that one of the key shifts is when we do that, we can sort of sort through, we pass through a phase where we explore all the parts of it that suck. But we don't want to stay there. We want to move out of feeling victimized by our sensitivity, which I think so many people do, until they learn sort of the basics of energy hygiene and energy management. Because that victim stage is such a bummer. It's like you're on the couch and you can't leave because all you can deal with is your cat. And, you can just watch like Hallmark movies on the Netflix because everything else is too hard. The world is too hard for us. And I mean, God knows I have days like that, but I don't think we're meant to live from that place. I think we're meant to learn how to manage it so we can go about in the move about the world and do what we came to do, which is basically help people, support people, work as healers, help the people that animals, children, elderly people, that where our empathy really shines. So anyway, yay,
Yeah.
empowered empaths.
Yay to empowered empaths. Yeah. And, again, if you're listening, give a shout out. We want to hear from you because I know for sure there's a ton of empaths out there, and this information hopefully lands with you. Um, but, I think that the center of the misunderstanding of an empath is that we've been told you feel too much, so you need to
Mhm.
protect yourself from life, like you were
Yeah.
saying, and then you hide,
Yep.
or you learn to brace. You scan the room before you enter them. I mean, I probably still do that, totally subconsciously. And you read the emotional weather of everyone around you, and then you adjust and you soften and you shapeshift just to like keep things steady.
Mhm.
And over time, that really starts to look like you care about everything and everyone, but it really isn't. Is I don't think that it is. I don't think it's care. I think it's self-abandonment dressed up as awareness, and maybe
Mhm.
potentially hypervigilance. But the sensitivity was never actually the problem. The real issue is that the sensitivity developed without any structure. No one taught us how to hold what you feel without becoming it. And I think
Mhm.
that that's where, we really wanna bring this into, like, some practical, um, tools and let everybody know that the sensitivity is not the weakness. It's just, like, it's pattern recognition, and we just need to, refine it. So, Elizabeth, hello. The only spiritual label I wear is that of the empath. I can't even be around people on substances without feeling that I'm also on those substances. It is exhausting. I hear you, sister.
Me too. Contact high times 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, and, um, yeah, so glad that you're here, and we're gonna try to help you with some of that exhaustion. And, Steph is saying, that she just started to practice Reiki and sound healing on other people. I'm realizing how sensitive I am to others and how much I absorb from them. I also hear that. When I teach Reiki, I teach psychic Reiki, and I spend Reiki 1 teaching Reiki practitioners how to handle their empathic natures because, we're often drawn to the healing arts. We're often drawn to that, and it's sort of like sort of sitting ducks then, if we don't know how to manage our energy, and just hardly anybody teaches that. So we need to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah, and, whether it's, um I mean, we could go into a whole discussion for sure on what Alyssa was talking about on substances, which opens up the energy fields even more, and so empaths, are gonna potentially, maybe, feel that even more, but it could be like I was talking about, you know, sort of that superpower of picking up on, like, tones and micro expressions and nervous system shifts and you know, inconsistencies between words and energy. That's great information, but information without discernment, that's what turns into exhaustion and overwhelm. And so an untrained empath doesn't just notice energy, they merge with it. That's where
Yeah.
exhaustion comes from. So an empowered empath still feels deeply, but we don't collapse into what we feel. We can stay separate enough to see ourselves versus the information clearly. And this is there's tricks that, I teach about learning how to merge and then draw your energies back. You need to know what that feels like to be actually able to merge with something. Oh, I'm doing it purposefully, and then drawing your energy back so that okay, this is me. It's really,
Mhm.
really important to know that to be able to make that distinction. When
100%.
Wendy, hi.
Hi, Wendy. I think, as empaths, we have that one of my energy, teachers called it the urge to merge, that
Yeah,
we always have that urge to merge. It's sort of our natural, default, right? And I think it comes from hypervigilance, comes from, like, our childhoods where we had to feel whether, you're 2 years old and you're in your crib and you're like, is it a good mommy day or a bad mommy day today?" Like, we're doing that as a sort of survival strategy,
yeah,
um, and we'll continue to do it as a survival strategy at the cost to ourselves until we learn otherwise. And I, really learned from an energetic perspective because I was a martial artist and a Reiki practitioner. I had to learn the energy, what was happening in my energy field, and really, like, learning how to sit back into my own energy, to sit back in my own spine, and stay grounded so that I don't merge with my clients. I don't, merge with my people. Sometimes I do when I'm triggered or I've gone unconscious for a moment or, like, I'm not tracking that. It's sort of like still my default. But like you said, it's like, oh, I'm doing that thing. And now I'm going to sit back in my own space, in my own field. And
yeah,
here's the creepy thing about this, Jane, is that um, people don't always like it when we merge with them. I mean,
exactly.
it's not always, it can feel creepy and gross to other people,
Yeah,
right? So it's kind of an energy invasion, right? It's,
yeah,
empaths have energy invader tendencies, and it's sort of like, just for, boundary, that's what the real boundary is staying inside your own energy field, saying, learning all the different ways to say no. But we're not really doing people favors by doing that mergy thing. And a lot of people think it's gross.
totally. I 100% agree, and, it's like we end up giving our power away,
Yeah.
by leaking our energy, which is really what we're doing, and, we're managing the room instead of inhabiting ourselves. We're managing other people's emotions instead of managing our own emotions, and the more that we do this, the less people actually feel who we really are. They feel our adjustment, our constant, like, that hypervigilance and not our true presence.
Right.
And
It's like
so
they'll feel your people pleaser tendencies or
yeah,
your something, whatever. It's sort of that, survival strategy that you think is who you are, but it isn't really, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
really the power comes back to us the moment we stop trying to regulate everyone else,
Mhm.
and it's first awareness and it's constant, practice.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lifelong practice
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, me too. And it's like that. It's really like a full on every level kind of form of codependency, you know? So what codependency is like, I'm not okay if you're not okay. Therefore, I must make you be okay
Yeah,
because I can't deal with your not okayness and then I can't deal with my not okayness.
yeah,
And so there's this big loop that we go into that I call the empath trap, which is I can't handle your feelings, so I'm going to make you smooth out so I don't have to handle your feelings. Then I have to feel my feelings about your feelings and I have to deal with my feelings about myself and it's whoa, it's just like way too much. And we have to learn how to, like, let people have their feels, let people
yeah,
have their experience sort of. And when we come out of that codependency, guess what? Everybody grows. Like, everybody gets to mature. People don't really grow if we're doing that thing. If we're in that codependent relationship and we're smoothing it all out for them and we're handling all their emotions for them so they don't have to, like, on all the levels, it stunts their growth and it stunts our growth. So the
yeah.
real empowerment is moving out of that codependency and, trusting that people can learn how to deal with their own feelings and learn how to deal with their own whatever they're doing. And we have to, like, create a resiliency inside of us to let other people have their experience and not jump in there and fix it.
And to know that we're gonna be okay. It's a safety issue. It becomes back to
Yeah.
our own nervous system and feeling like we're not safe, and we need to take control of the room in order to feel safe. And
Yep.
so there's a letting go of control that happens, like
Yep.
you were saying, to just allow people to, have their own trip and know that we're gonna be okay even if they're, freaking out. Alyssa has a good point. I feel like I encounter the opposite of invasion, where everyone seems to want to talk to me about their problems. I'm like a moth for those with emotional problems. I am absolutely the same. And what I've learned is actually on an energetic level, where they're drawn to us because our energy is so porous. Our energy is so leaky, that we don't. It's totally. This is Lisa. You can give your own perspective on this, but it's a subconscious like seeing, like, oh, that
Mhm.
person is if that person essentially, I want to tell all my unload all my stuff on that person because I'm going to feel so much better afterwards because their energy is so porous. And so
Yeah.
there's like this like resonance that happens, which is like, oh yeah, that's going to feel good. And so it still is the same thing, even though it feels like the opposite. We're still leaking our energy, keeping ourselves so boundaryless or somewhat, but very porous. And so people are drawn to that because after they talk to us, they're like, wow, I feel so much better,
Mhm.
and then we feel like crap. What do you
Yeah,
think?
and we have, like, the soul of a healer. I mean, I really think that we're kind, we're compassionate, we
Yeah.
care, we have that, like, nurturing kind of vibe that is sort of deeply the nature of who we really are, and and so they just spot us a mile away, and it's kind of like free lunch. I'm gonna just go get like, I'm desperate, needy, in pain, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
find that person and, like you said, dump them out, and Steph's is saying, "How do we make our energy fields less porous?" Well, read my book, Energy Healing for Empaths, is an entire book about this topic. And the basic fundamental is finding lots of different ways to have good energy hygiene. So we learn how to stay grounded, embodied in our body. Then we learn how to clear the energy that we pick up from other people, and then we learn how to create better shielding around us that makes us less porous. I learned how to do it by doing a breathing, grounding kind of meditation that I do several times a day, before and after clients, before and after I go in public. And I just imagine that the outside edge of my energy field is less like something more like semi-permeable. We want kind of like your skin or like the cell membrane where it allows in energy that's supportive to us, keeps non-supportive energy on the other side. And and we're the boss of that. We're in charge of who we let into our field. And so it's a habit stuff. It's a habit of being unconsciously porous. We change the habit through practices. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's, you carry crystals or you use essential oils, or I like, there's some flower essences that I use, but mostly what I did was learn how to shift my internal energy through grounding myself, clearing myself, and protecting myself like 10 times a day for my whole, forever. And then that kind of gives us a leg to stand on to do the harder work, which is learning how to say no, which is what Happy Yodeler says, learning to say no is difficult, but really seems to help. So when you have a strong energy field and good psychic hygiene, it kind of gives us the strength to learn how to say no. And then I had to learn, like, a lot of really nice ways to say no. It's still kinda hard for me, but I do it.
Yeah, and really understanding, so this is, again, this is awareness. This is like the inner work that Lisa and I talk about all the time, is understanding compassion versus self-sacrifice. An example is saying yes when your body is saying no, or taking
Mhm.
responsibility for other people's emotions, or like over explaining to keep the peace. Silencing what you truly believe just to avoid discomfort. And compassion and self-sacrifice, I think, get confused all the time. But compassion is like, I see you, I care, and I'm present. I'm here. Self-sacrifice is like, I'll leave myself to take care of you. And
Mm.
one is connection, and the other is like disappearance, and that, in a way, dissociation. Because we can all sit with someone in pain without taking it into our body. We just need to learn how to do it. And we can really care without carrying anybody's stuff. But it really is learning how to stay in our center, and to know what our center is, and then bring our energy back to our center, and that's a boundary. That's learning boundaries. And I feel like most empaths swing between two extremes, and that's like wide open and overwhelm, or completely shut down and numb. And neither one of those is sovereignty. I think
Yeah.
real boundaries are very quiet, and being empowered is actually very quiet. It's like I hear you, but that's not mine to hold. Um, and it's important to understand that boundaries aren't walls. They're not like shutting your superpower down. It's clarity. You don't need to we don't need to, and we don't want to close our heart down with boundaries. We want to keep our heart open and anchor it within ourselves. And it's really learning how to do the clear ground protect, understanding what recalling your energy really is, doing that energy hygiene throughout the day is essential. Like
Yep.
that's learning boundaries. And it does include, speaking in a way that is not coming from a place where, sometimes we're like, well, this is my truth and I'm blah, 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 blah. Like that's not your center. That's not that might be a trigger point, and we need to understand what that is too.
Right.
Um, but
Yeah.
learning to stay connected to yourself.
And it's really hard because I think a lot of us empaths are, by nature from childhood, we're externally focused. So our
Yeah.
focus is on other people. Our focus is on, our framework is external. And so we often don't know how we feel. We often don't have any idea like what we know or want or need. So we have to shift our framework into being an internal framework. And that's hard for us because it feels really selfish. It feels really like, well, that's what narcissists do, or what, that's what me people do, you
Yeah.
know? And we have to sort of change so that we're able to hold both frames at the same time, which is I'm externally, aware of what's going on with you all. And I'm also internally aware with what my own experience is. And that was really hard for me to learn how to do that. And I had to like literally like so one of the things I do and is if somebody asks me to do something, I'm always going to say yes. If I say yes in the moment because I feel them and I'm like I like them and I want to help them. So I've had to learn how to just say I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'll get back to you on Friday. And I literally have to sit alone in my room with my calendar and do my ground clear and protect and be like, what do I really want? Does that really work for me? Um, you know, and sort of watch, oh, are they gonna be mad at me? Are they gonna not like me? What am I gonna have do if it's gonna be a conflict? I hate conflicts, like all of those things to sort of feel myself, right? And now, um, where I'm at now, and this is again what we do in the mystery school is shortening the gap on that. So it doesn't take me a whole day to figure it out what I want, or what I
Right.
need. It's like more in the moment. I can feel that. I can tell in the moment and still have to pause kind of and breathe and sit back in my own spine and be like, okay, where am I? What do I really want and need? And that is that that simultaneous internal external frame is I think real sovereignty. And the bonus thing that it was totally unexpected to me about this is I don't think we really can have true intimacy with other people until we do this. So as when we're doing the merge, it might feel intimate, but it's actually not. It's
Yeah.
not. We're not. You have to be inside of you and sovereign and holding your own center to really actually have a deeper, intimate connection with somebody else. I was like, whoa, that's blew my mind.
Yeah, because the other person doesn't actually know who you are,
Right.
And I think it kind of boils down to like the empath has this sensitivity that is a superpower, right? And when sense it, but understanding how it's a superpower, I think, is what's important because when sensitivity is really grounded, it becomes precise. It's clear. We have clear discernment. And we start to notice what's actually ours and what isn't. And we can read a situation without being like pulled into it. And we can feel truth in our body faster than what our mind can explain. And that's when it's like so clear, and
Mm.
that's where sensitivity becomes sovereign and like leadership, where it's not performative. But you know that presence is really important because it can actually stabilize a room. It can completely transform and transmute the energy of a room when we are stabilized, in that precision and not unconsciously reacting to what is happening in the room. And we
Mm.
become somebody who can feel deeply and really stay steady. And that's, I think, the shift of what we think that being an empath is about to what it really is about, in my opinion.
Yep, I have to say I've seen you do that like 100 times in a room, and it's really beautiful,
Thanks.
to, really it's a calm kind of leadership. It's sort of, it's not always the lead from the front of the room, but it's definitely it seems like the higher octave, the high one of the highest callings of who we can be and what the real powers are, right?
Yeah.
And I think when we do that, we also model how to do it for other people. We make the room safe for everybody to be who they are,
Yeah.
not not from their sort of nervous system triggered inner child, you know, um, you know, personality, our functional personality parts, but allows us to touch deeper into our higher self, into our who we really are when someone's doing that. And I also think um, it gives everybody sort of permission to feel. People go deep. When we because I think one of our superpowers is we hold deep we're space holders. We hold space for people when we're in that sovereign state, um, for people to touch their emotions and feel safe doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that you do this brilliantly too, and I think that that's maybe why our containers are as potent as they as they are, because we've done this work so diligently, for ourselves to be able to, be in service. I mean, it really was like our own personal survival mechanisms to learn how to do these tools on our own and
Yeah.
bringing them together so that we can form these containers. And it's really important to understand that we were really never meant to carry the emotional weight of everyone around us. It's not a gift. It's like that's a misdirection of our gift.
Mm.
And this sensitivity that we're talking about is meant to sharpen our awareness and not drain our energy. So, learning to come back to ourselves, notice when we're taking on something that's not ours. Say no when you mean no, even when it's uncomfortable. Say yes when you mean yes, and let people have their own emotional process without interfering is really important. And we really don't need to become less sensitive. It's more about becoming more rooted and centered. And from that place, our our sensitivity, as empaths stops being something that we really have to manage, although we do continue to manage it. I'm still managing it. But it's something that, we learn how to lead in life with. And that's sovereignty. And if it just is a completely different shift of how to live, and it feels like freedom, honestly. Um, and so doing this work, I highly recommend doing the work every day, the practices and the tools, because it's absolutely life changing.
For sure.
Um,
And if you want to know more about that, that's what we do in the Quantum Mystic School of Consciousness. So we are launching another cohort this this month and next month, May and June 2026. And if you like the way this sounds and you want to learn more about how we do that and how you can do that, as well as many other things, I just invite you to consider. You can go to our website, quantum-mystic.com, and check out. It's an 8-month school of consciousness. We're in the container together for 8 months. We meet every week, and you can see us. You can see it. You can learn all about what we're talking about, and so many other things inside that group.
And Alyssa, again, she says, Lisa, this is unrelated, but I would love to hear you talk about psychology and the soul in the future. I'm learning personality psychology, and I'm struggling to find where I start and where my brain ends. I know you didn't include me in that, but this is something we talk about. We both talk about a lot in the school, in the Quantum Mystic School of Consciousness. This is literally, we talk about a lot of this stuff. So, check it out,
Yeah, definitely check it out. Would love to. It's all Alyssa. It's all about transpersonal psychology. That's where it's at. So, yeah, it's a great topic. We'll put it on our topic list. Thanks for bringing it up. And thank you everybody for being here. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and we will see you again next time.